Before we can find out the volume of a regular object, we need to know how to find the length, width, and height of a regular prism. So to do that, I'm just going to talk you through this little box here and tell you what each of them is. It's 3 different dimensions, which is why we give all of our regular solids to the third power, because we're looking at 3 different dimensions. If we look right here, we've got the length at the bottom here. Some people might even say that's a width. To be very honest and blunt, length and width, although they do have different meanings when it comes to measuring the volume of an object, it really doesn't matter. Just pick 2 of the sides. So this we're going to call the length. Then back here, that line going back, giving it depth, is going to be our width. And then height is going to be from the base to the top. Now an easy way to find this, and I'll talk about this again, is to pick a corner, any corner, and then go from that corner to the 3 edges that attach at that corner. So here's my corner, there's height, length, width. And that works for any box-like structure or rectangular prism-like structure when you're trying to measure the volume. Okay, now that you know what length, width, and height are, it's time to measure something in real life. So I've got my metric ruler. This is what's going to be best to use. A meter stick could be used, but man, it would be too big for this. And here we have a block of wood. Okay, so this block of wood has a length, width, and height. And it really doesn't matter what you call the length, width, and height. I always tell people to start at one of the corners and then measure one of the edges going away from that corner, because there's 3 edges. And that's going to be your length, width, and height. So I'm going to start from this corner right here. I'm going to measure up first to get my height. Then this could be length or width depending on how you're viewing it. So I'm just going to measure then this is the length and that is the width. But I can easily flip it around. So to do that, let me go ahead and hold this up. I'm going to go on the metric side, there's my metric side. And I'm going to start by lining it up with the 0. And I can do it just all the way across here. I'm actually going to pick the middle because the edges are kind of warped out a little bit. Okay, let me focus in here. See if I can get a little closer. There we go. Now let's take a real good look at this. Oh, that's perfect. So I've got my 0 at the edge. I'm going up at the top. And you can see here, I am just a little bit past the 4 centimeter mark. So it's closer to me to 4 centimeters than it is anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. We're going to round to the nearest millimeter. So I'm going with 4 centimeters. Now if somebody came to me and said, no, Mr. Hammond, I think that's 4.1. Fine. We could take it farther and give a decimal in between that, but we're not going to be worrying about that much accurate measurement. We're just going to say 4 centimeters. Okay, so I just did my height. I just measured that line right there. I'm now going to go ahead and measure what I call my length, which could be my width too. So I've got 4. And again, I don't have to start at the edge. I can do right in the middle, which I'm finding a little bit easier. So I line up my 0. Remember that whole thing about measure twice, cut once? So I'm really going to make sure that I practice double checking my sides because it's so easy to move that ruler. So there it's at the 0. It's going to me to 4.1. So I have 4.1 centimeters. Okay. Now, kids get confused, right? Students, adults, all of us get confused. What am I saying? We all get confused. And then they go back and they measure something they've already measured, right? That's easy to do. So don't do that. Think to yourself, okay, I measured this. So I got that one done. I measured this. That's 4.1. This was 4. Now I've got one more to do from the corner, and it's going to be this line right here. So I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to go across because the same thing as this line is just measuring up here. It's easier for me to measure in the middle. Okay. Now, to me, I'm looking at about 5.1. I take either 5 or 5.1. I kind of feel like, let me get this right on there. I kind of feel like we're closer to 5 on this one. So I'm going to go with, I'm sorry. All right, so now I'm going to measure this side. So I line it up. And the metric rule is really great because it gives us a middle point in between 5 and 6. So I can look right there at that longer line, and that longer line tells me that's 5.5. Right? So that's 5.5 right there. That's perfect. How much easier it is than find the lower than 5 and the higher than 5. That's why they do that, to make it simpler. So I'm right at 5.5. centimeters. Perfect. 5 centimeters, 5 millimeters, 5.5. So now I've got my three numbers, right? So on the next slide, we're going to go and talk about how you figure out the total and how you could put that both as centimeters, you could write it as millimeters, you could write it as meters. That'd be a little crazy, but you could write it as meters. Okay, let's talk about our answer here. So after measuring all right, so let's talk about the answer here. After measuring the three different dimensions, we've got a length of 4.1, a width of 5.5, and a height of 4.0 centimeters. So we take those three numbers and we simply multiply them together, giving us a final number of 90.2 centimeters cubed. Now we do the cubed, this little 3 up there behind the centimeters, because we multiplied centimeters 3 times. So if we looked up there at the top, I showed you the place value. You'll notice there's nothing in meters because we didn't have anything that was a meter, so I didn't need to worry about that. We were dealing strictly with centimeters. However, if I wanted to turn this into meters cubed, all I'd have to do is take this little decimal and move it behind the meter position. It becomes 0.902 meters cubed. Or if I want to turn it to millimeters cubed, I'd need to move the decimal over behind the 2, which would then make it 902 millimeters cubed. But to keep it simple, just stick with centimeters when you're measuring anything like this. It's volume. So that's it. Let's go ahead and try a practice problem. Let's take a look at another one. Here's my block of wood. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because this guy's bigger. Okay. So in this case, I find my corner. So I'm going to use that corner again. And I'm going to call this length, width, and height. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my height. Okay, so my height, I'm going to put this up there. And I'm not going to tell you what I would call it. I'm just going to get it lined up and let you decide. So write that down. What is that? Okay, let's try another one. Here we go. I'm going to do the length next. So I got to zoom out even more. Whoa! All right, cameras are shaking. All right, got that lined up right there. There, it's easy to do multiple of these. Okay, so it's lined up. I'm going to try to zoom in so you can see that a little bit closer. Here's where it landed. Move that a little bit. There, it's lined up. You're kind of in the middle there, so make your best call. Length. All right, let's do width. Okay, because remember I'm going from my corner here. That corner, I went up and I went that way. Now I'm going to go across this way. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that you can see it. I'll line it up with the 0. All right. That is lined up. Oh, it was lined up. This is kind of hard to do with the camera in front of me. Okay. All right. Now I'll move this over so you can get maybe a closer view at what that really is. Get a straight down view of it. There we go. There we are. Let's write that down. Okay. Figure out the volume of this regular object. Okay, let's talk about our answer here. So after measuring Alright, so let's talk about the answer here. After measuring the three different dimensions, we've got a length of 4.1, a width of 5.5, and a height of 4.0 centimeters. So we take those three numbers and we simply multiply them together, giving us a final number of 90.2 centimeters cubed. Now we do the cubed, this little 3 up there behind the centimeters, because we multiplied centimeters 3 times. So if we looked up there at the top, I showed you the place value. You'll notice there's nothing in meters because we didn't have anything that was a meter, so I didn't need to worry about that. We were dealing strictly with centimeters. However, if I wanted to turn this into meters cubed, all I'd have to do is take this little decimal and move it behind the meter position. It becomes 0.902 meters cubed. Or if I want to turn it to millimeters cubed, I'd need to move the decimal over behind the 2, which would then make it 902 millimeters cubed. But to keep it simple, just stick with centimeters when you're measuring anything like this. It's volume. So that's it. Let's go ahead and try a practice problem. All right, let's do one more. I'm doing this Ziploc. Okay, this one's kind of big. So I'm picking a corner, okay? And I'm going to do, from here, I'm going to do the height, the length, and the width. So let's start with the width. Just because I'm starting with the width, I'm just going to measure across here. Wait, what am I doing? It's inches. Always got to check that. It's so easy to just like accidentally just get in a hurry and just do it. This one I can't zoom in very well. Well, maybe I can. Let me see here. That's lined up. I think I can. There we go. Okay, so that's width. Let's do height. Height. In this case, this is my corner. I just did the line going down like that. That was width. So now height is going to be up this way. So I'm going to line that up with the end. There you go. And now length, which I can't actually fit in here. So the box is too big. So you're just going to have to trust me that I haven't hit the 0. Trust you? Are you crazy? Yeah, I'm crazy. Trust me. Please. Okay. Here we go. That's it right there. Now, I kind of want to zoom in a little bit more because I think it's actually, let's get in there. Okay, so we're measuring to the end of that cardboard piece. That piece right there. So where's that at? Okay, take those 3 numbers. Do what you need to do. Find out the volume of that Ziploc box. Okay, here's the last one. So you should have gotten the length of 19.6 centimeters, height of 7.5 centimeters, and a width of 12.3 centimeters. Sorry, I forgot to put the centimeters on that 12.3. When you multiply those 3 things together, you get a total volume, how much space this thing takes up in the world, of 1,808.1 centimeters cubed. Hey, thanks for joining me. That's how you measure with a regular solid. So at this time, you need to move on and learn about displacement, if you haven't already done that, and then measuring with a metric ruler or meter stick to measure a length. That's really going to be important. Hopefully you already did that, though. So once you get these 3 scales, we've got the scale next. And why am I still talking?